that, and I'm pretty sure they're going to expand upon that special message the press conference this morning. So let's go to the K-Wave News Zoom room where we have standing by Jeremy Zajac from Harvest Christian and Dr. Juan Flores of the Catholic schools here. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. So we wanted to bring you on, and Jeremy, because I'd heard that there were some meetings that had taken place, and I know at the very least discussions about starting up with the face-to-face learning. You guys over at Harvest had come out with kind of like an opinion piece about the importance of face-to-face learning and how obviously it doesn't compare to what we're doing now with the online or the hard copy or whatnot. So I kind of wanted to start there. What can you tell us about that conversation and how far along is it?
Yeah, thank you. It's been 215 days or 7 months since, the last time we were in face-to-face education. And of course, we're paying attention to the news and we want to be sensitive to the number of hospitalizations and the spread of the virus on our island. We just want to continually advocate for the choice for schools to open in Guam. We believe that we can do it safely. We believe that we can do school safely, and so we're trying to advocate for that choice. We've done an open opinion letter to the papers. We've been in communication with the governor in her office and other groups that advise the governor, and just trying to respectfully make the plea for the opportunity for us to have a choice to open the school, and not that every school needs to open. But as schools are ready, advocating for that choice. If you think about education, it's just so fundamental to society. It provides freedom, it provides prosperity. And if you look back through history, when education isn't a critical infrastructure piece or an essential piece, long-term bad things happen. And so, just have had some encouraging meetings with different folks. There is more and more data being released that, coronavirus doesn't spread in schools. A lot of this is stateside data, obviously, and some other countries. And we want to be careful not to cherry pick, reports that support our position, because you could probably find other reports that are against the position as well. But just, if you look at, I was just researching the number of states that are required closed in the states. It's Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. Everyone else has the opportunity, and there's some precautions and safeguards, which of course we want to follow. Our reentry plan takes all those things into account from the CDC and Department of Health and Social Services. So just really advocating for the opportunity to have some choice to give it to parents for face-to-face education, because we do hear from our parents that, well, virtual education, we're doing it well and we're improving every day. It's not the same. There's social components, there's mental health components that are lacking, that are just difficult to communicate through Zoom.
We'll go and bring on Dr. Juan. Doc, Juan, has there been any conversation on you guys' side with the Catholic schools about going back to physically present, face-to-face learning?
Yeah, last week we had a meeting with all the principals of the Catholic schools, and the majority of them are not eager to open schools right now. I don't disagree with anything Jeremy is saying, including the notion that the transmission of the virus probably won't take place within the confines of a school. One of the concerns that I've brought up and other principals have brought up is when we're in school and the kids are in cohorts and we exercise social distancing and we make sure that we monitor the kids' activities, I think we're pretty assured that we're preventing the kids from interacting with each other. It's not 100%. The problem is that for many of our students, they have extended families and they are not staying home when they leave school. When I've gone to the store and I see a lot of kids in stores. I see a lot of kids who are around with their parents. I'm not saying that they should stay home, but the problem is if we can't have cohort living, meaning everybody's going to be just confined to the group that they're with, then we're increasing the chances of that transmission in school. And we even have teachers, elderly teachers especially, who are very concerned about coming back to school. We have families that are concerned that they have elderly parents or grandparents at home, elderly relatives, and they don't want them to be exposed if the kids go to school. Um, One of the issues that has come up with the principals is that if there's a choice to open, um, and because we're tuition-driven schools, we've got to keep this in mind. If the families are not ready to send their kids to school, then we've got to find an alternative system, a distance learning system for those kids. The problem is most schools don't have the staff to run both. That even if we have the kids in class, even if they're observing class synchronously through webcams, the teachers still have to interact with those kids. So they have to set up some kind of system to interact with those kids. And the problem is that the teachers can't do both. They can't work on their day-to-day face-to-face classes and then move on to run an online program. And so ideally, when we can forget that the transmissions could take place, we would come back. I mean, there's nothing more. I got to tell you that whenever I have Zoom meetings, and I just had one last night with a small group of kids, it's the most rewarding thing to see their faces. And I wish I could see their faces live. The issue is, and last night with one of the students, her grandmother was in the room with her, and it was great to see her. But if that child went to school and somehow was infected, she's going to take the virus home to her grandmother, who may be vulnerable. And I think that's what we're worried about. I agree that right within school, within cohorts, with all the masks and the social distancing in school, we can prevent transmission. But if the kids are coming to school with it, it's very difficult to assure that everybody's going to be safe. So those are some of the concerns. We have a meeting this afternoon, and I know Jeremy and others had a meeting on Monday with the Education Committee of the Governor's Physicians Advisory Group, and we have ours this afternoon, hopefully to talk about what are the parameters for making decisions about opening the schools, or what are the precautions to take if we did open schools.
Right. Jeremy, we had Superintendent John Fernandez on yesterday, and he had a chart, and it kind of is modeled off a CDC table that they use, where they factor in all the COVID stuff, and they spit out a determination of whether or not it's a wise time to open. Basically, that's a kind of a broad generalization. That being said, he was saying that maybe anticipating next year, January, possibly face-to-face. I mean, of course, all contingent upon where we go with the virus. Could you guys wait that long at Harvest, Jeremy? Or is that something you guys are looking at doing? Or are you ready to just get back in there?
We're going to respect, the authority of the governor and Department of Health that are making these decisions. We're going to abide by their rules. We just feel like there hasn't been a voice. We need to start these conversations early. Maybe right now is not the right time. I mean, Juan had brought up two specific things that we work through as well. Multi-generational households are a concern. And the ability for teachers to do both virtual learning and face-to-face education, so providing choice to parents, is really difficult. And we're involving them in the process of how that can be done. And depending on the age group, it's a little bit easier. Older grades, it can be implemented fairly easily. Younger grades, it gets more difficult, especially as you go down to where they're starting to learn to read, and schedules are difficult to manage in a classroom, let alone coordinating that through Zoom. So I saw the article that you guys have posted too about Department of Education, restarting and thinking about restarting their planning committee for reopening. And we don't want to be surprised by the fact when the governor says we can open. We want to be fully ready. And what we're saying is we think we're fully ready right now, and we'll just continue to wait. And yeah, we want to apply a little bit of pressure just because I think it's important. We weigh not just physical health, but mental health and academic health. And so we just want to respectfully keep applying that pressure to the people that are making the policy decisions for Guam.
At my son's school, they sent out a parent survey, I guess, to kind of get a gauge at our comfort level of sending our children back to school. So, what are you guys hearing from parents? And we'll start again with you, Jeremy. I mean, are they, I guess, willing to send their children back to face to face?
When the very beginning of school, we had 1 day of school.
Yeah.
Before we went back from PCOR 3 to PCOR 1. And we did a survey at that point, and a very, very large majority of our parents wanted face-to-face education. So this is driving a part of it. Of course, there are parents that are still concerned, like, even opinions that differ within a household, right? And so we shouldn't be surprised by the fact that the parents want different things. We're trying to accommodate all those things, but also make the decision that's best for the entire group as well. And so we want to stay in touch with parents, and they do give us feedback, and we do value that feedback. We continue to want to receive it.
Mm-hmm. What if we do go back into, you guys implement face to face, and there's still parents that aren't comfortable with sending their children back to school? I mean, will that be still an option for them?
Yeah, even in the very beginning, when we opened for the first day, we didn't force parents to come back. We provided a limited online option. Okay. Now that we've done online successfully now for the first quarter, we're closing our first academic quarter on Friday, and it's been 9 weeks. Teachers have increased in their comfort level. We've come so far in what we started with. We want to be able to continue to offer choice to parents, and that's our goal. And part of it is, like I said, we're engaging our teachers to see what is reasonable and what are they capable of, from delivering, synchronous, which means live and Zoom, or pre-recorded, or just support via homework, at the end of the day with students and parents that are concerned.
Juan?
Yeah, last week I got a phone call. I've only had one phone call from a parent of one of the schools who beat me up on the phone for not doing anything to force the governor to open schools. And after 20 minutes, I got her down to, okay, I understand what you're saying, but I still want the schools to open. But the issue is, and most of the schools are doing surveys. I talked to another non-public school head the other day, not a Catholic school, and the concern is that the surveys don't necessarily give a mandate from the families. Jeremy mentioned that people will disagree, obviously, but again, because the difference between the non-public schools and the public schools, regardless of what the public schools do, their schools are going to continue to function in the manner that they want, right? And the government continues to provide the funding for those schools. Mm-hmm. If we don't provide the services to the families are going to disenroll their kids. I mean, I'm at a school where last week a parent enrolled her daughter in the school, even though we were doing distance learning, because she was concerned about what was not happening in a public school, and paid tuition for the whole year. I don't know that our faculties and families want to wait until January. I'll be honest. I think on a daily basis, while Jerry mentioned that the teachers are getting comfortable. Yep, they're getting comfortable. They're ironing out all the kinks, but I'll tell you, they're not happy. They're not happy that they're not having that direct contact with the kids, and they're not identifying. There's some key issues with kids that they're not identifying. And sometimes it's just a matter of pulling a kid aside in the classroom and saying, hey, is everything okay? Tough to do that in Google Meet or on a Zoom session. And sometimes we have to engage parents more than we have in the past, because we want to have a conversation about whether or not kids' well-being is being addressed. So I think the parents make themselves known. We pay attention to what we're reading and hearing and seeing all around us. But the bottom line is, we've got to make sure that whatever we have to follow, we've got to be able to provide the best education for the students, or the families will leave our schools, and we can't afford that.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
When you think about,
go ahead, Jeremy.
When you think about the role of a teacher, you guys have had some of my principals on in the past, and the reason they're teachers is because they want to make that impact face to face. And if you think back to, your school, some of the most impactful teachers are, they're able to inspire you to achieve beyond what you think you can do. That's really difficult, over Zoom. Can it be done? Yeah, we're still trying to make those efforts happen. But the reality is, the compounding effect of just not having education like it should be done. I'm really nervous that the compounding, impact of this is going to be not what we want. And just want to advocate, education is absolutely essential to society, and we just need to do our best to make sure that we're providing the best education for our kids.
The one thing that I've brought up several times is the malls are open. Some of the outdoor seating and restaurants are open. You can go get a haircut, which I've got to get pretty soon. But those are choices. Even church is a choice, right? I haven't been inside of a church for a while, but I attend mass every Sunday. But school is not really a choice. It either is going to happen face to face or it's going to happen virtually. But for kids, it's not a choice. It's not something they could choose to just not be in school. And so that's what makes these decisions very difficult. We're not talking about an economic situation here. We're not talking about a commercial venture. We're talking about activities that kids are supposed to be involved in and are required to be involved in. And so they either come to school or they participate in some kind of virtual learning environment, but they've got to do it. That's why we've got to pay attention to all these issues, the way maybe a store or a restaurant doesn't have to do it. They have to entice customers, certainly. But if they chose to close, they could, if they can afford to. We can't close down our operations. We either have to do it face to face or we've got to do it virtually, but we've got to continue our operations.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Jeremy, I know you're rubbing your head. You gonna go get a haircut too?
Yeah, I'm overdue.
Yeah. All right, Juan, let me know. I got clippers, the house.
Nah, I'm not trusting you, Chris.
I'll do you real good.
No offense, man, but I'm afraid of what it'll look like.
Wind up with a mohawk.
Right, yeah. Jeremy, thank you. And Jeremy, you got my
Thank
number.
you.
Keep us posted about any developments, any changes in the conversation, just anything at all. We'll get you
Okay.
back on, okay?
All right.
Thanks.
You too,
Take care.
Juan. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
joining
guys.
us. Hey, guys, there's virtual malasadas, and we also have virtual tuna sandwich in there if you guys
All
want to.
right.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
right on.
Don't put it in the heat, though, or the mayonnaise will get bad.
No, it's in the virtual aircon, virtually cool. So you won't get a virtual stomach ache.
Spicy.
Okay, I'll go,
All
Moss.
right.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Dang it.
Okay, there you go. Good morning. We'll take a